Welcome to the RS Expert Advice Podcast. In each episode, we interview a trusted expert in the electronics industry to provide purchasers, engineers, installers, and maintainers with valuable insights into the product and technology solutions that can help them overcome common challenges and add real value to their workflows. We hope you enjoy this episode and that you learn something useful and new. Today I'm speaking with Eric Barnes, Offer Marketing Launch Manager at Schneider Electric, a leading global supplier of innovative process and energy technologies, about improving workforce productivity through digitization and smart motor control. Welcome, Eric. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Please introduce yourself and tell us a little about your role at Schneider Electric and the path that brought you there.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm a product manager. I've been with Schneider for about 6 years, but I've been in the industry for 22 years now. So all in the motor control space. And so, yeah, it's exciting time to be a part of Schneider Electric. There's a lot of cool things that we're doing to push the whole industry forward. So it's very, very good to be in this position right here.
Please introduce us to Schneider Electric.
Yeah, so Schneider Electric is a manufacturer of electrical products and digital solutions. And so the goal here is to empower everyone to be able to best utilize the resources and energy possible, right? And so we have a saying called "Life is on," right? And it really kind of shares what our objective is here. We have two main business units. We have energy management and we have industrial automation. And we're really working to develop those portfolios and solutions to offer not just a physical hardware piece, but a digital solution as well, end-to-end solution to help customers really kind of see and understand and better utilize their energy and resources.
So you're here today to talk about digitalization and smart motor control. What market challenges do these technologies address?
Yeah, there's quite a few. So the most recent one we're hearing a lot about is labor shortages and the retiring of experts in the field that know how to operate machines, and there's businesses are struggling to find people to take those roles and keep their machines running. So that's always a challenge. And then the other side of that is energy management. So a lot of companies have sustainability objectives. And they may be struggling, well, how do I do that? What tools are at my resource that I could use to help me achieve my sustainability objectives, reduce my energy consumption, my CO2 emissions, things like that.
What's the difference between traditional motor starters and smart motor starters?
Yeah, so I'll share a quick slide here. So help kind of illustrate what we're talking about. So traditional starters have basically two main functions. They're used to operate motors, so they switch the motor on and off. So imagine you've got a conveyor and you want to turn the conveyor on. There's a contactor on that motor starter that opens and closes that electrical circuit, and so it turns the motors on and off. That's job number one. Job number two would be we want to protect the motor. So let's say the conveyor gets overloaded or gets jammed. If you don't turn it off, it's going to create a lot of excess heat and it'll burn up the motor, and that's a very expensive repair, right? And plus the downtime. So that's a traditional motor starter, right? They've been around for 100 years or more, and so they've been doing their job, right? But now with newer technologies, we have the ability to add a digital element to this, right? And that's really what a smart motor starter is. It gives you the same functionality as far as switching motors on and off, protecting the motors from getting damaged, overloaded, things like that. But there's a lot of other things that we could add to that, and that's the visibility, right? So I'll give you an example. Let's say in that conveyor example, it gets jammed up, right? And so what would normally happen with a traditional motor starter is it doesn't have any flashing lights or doesn't tell you anything. It just, if it doesn't clear itself, after a while, it's going to trip. And then so now the operator's like, why does it stop? Why am I nothing's coming down the line anymore, right? Well, with a smart motor starter, we actually can sense a jam operation. So we'll see a spike in current, then we'll be able to alert the operator, or maybe we want to alert the PLC, the logic controller, to say, hey, I've got a jam, and maybe we set up to where it would do an auto reverse for 2 seconds, right? Maybe try to clear the jam. So that's a good example of being able to predict see what's going on, take proactive measures. You may not even need to involve the operator or involve maintenance. Not everything is as clean as that. Sometimes things happen and you have to shut down, but we can at least let the operator or the maintenance technician know what the problem is, what was the condition we were observing. And so things like that, being able to observe your energy consumption, your power quality. Sometimes you've got strained energy grids, and at certain parts of the day, your power just goes wacky, right? And you can't see it, right? But all of a sudden your overload trips. What's going on? Why did this happen? What could be a power related issue? So that visibility is really what gives you the differentiator with a smart motor piece of equipment.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot of added functionality. So these motors that you're talking about, what types of applications can they be found in?
Oh, they're used in many applications. So we mentioned the conveyors. It's a big one, especially with a lot of shipping going on these days with packages. But think about like something as simple as like water, right? You've got to get water from the treatment plant to the homes. You got to get it back to the treatment facility. So we're moving liquids. Think about like agriculture. We've got augers that are pushing things through. We've got compressors on refrigeration equipment. Your buildings have HVAC units that has a blower in it that it's pushing air through. It also has compressors to help heat or cool the air, condition the air. So motors are used everywhere, and there's roughly about 50 million motors in use in the U.S. that are turning pieces of equipment that's doing work that a lot of times we just take for granted, but it's everywhere.
That's a huge stat. I had not heard that before.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is.
It really is. How can smart motor controls help solve industrial labor shortages and the declining productivity that you were talking about?
Yeah, so I'll give you a real life customer example. So it has to do with the car wash industries. So initially, car washes was not one of my targets for this type of product. I thought, they're not really interested in kind of newer technology or, more advanced type of things that would add some cost. But Sonny's is a customer of ours based in Florida, one of the major car wash manufacturers. And they see the market a little differently. So normally, in the past, an OEM, car wash OEM would build an OEM piece of equipment, a machine that would run cars through it, or it had pumps, it would have, conveyors, it would have, emitters that run back and forth, or, blowers, a lot of different motors in that system. And so they would sell a piece of equipment, and they go find another customer, sell another piece of equipment. And what we're seeing is, in this particular case here, there's an interest by investors they want to put their money to work for them. And car washes are going up all over the place. It's a great way. If you could buy a piece of equipment, there's going to be lots of demand, customers coming through all the time. But Sonny's was thinking, hey, these investors, they're not maintenance people, right? They don't want to be operating this equipment. And so, how do we make the machines smarter, right? And that's really what they set out to do. And they used TSYS Island, our smart motor starter, to do that. And so, essentially what it does is it looks for, certain abnormalities, right? If something gets jammed up, it can sense that. If there's no liquid being pumped, it could sense those types of things. If there's, blowers are not operating appropriately, they can sense those types of things. So it gives a great opportunity for Sonny's to be able to offer, a smarter machine to help, maintenance people, help operators keep the machines running, as well as also allow, Sonny's to be able to offer monitoring services and repair parts and maintenance services and things like that. So it makes the machine smarter, right? So it helps offset what normally you would have to do, have to hire somebody to help monitor that equipment all day, right? Well, now we have a machine that's looking out at its operation and can start to give you information before you get to a stopping point or a downtime situation. So it's really kind of the idea of, it's sometimes hard. I mentioned earlier, it's hard to find people to fill these roles that are, our experts are retiring, and they know how to operate this equipment. And there's just not enough people in this place to take over and learn the equipment. And so we've got to get smarter, right? So imagine if you could, if you're struggling trying to find somebody to fill that role, what if you could hire data, like this concept of making the machine smarter, right? That's a feasible thing, right? Especially with motors, we can use data and the visibility that a smart motor starter provides to offset the need where that you have that manual intervention. So it helps the workforce you do have get more productive. They're able to do more, keep the machine running, and have less downtime.
That's a really cool example. I would have never imagined car washes because, like you said, you think of that as sort of a lower investment opportunity than like an industrial manufacturing facility.
We're seeing it in other places as well, where it's the idea of using intelligence, data to be able to make the machine smarter. And industries are starting to pay attention now as far as how they can do things better and offer more value to their customers.
So you mentioned the TSIS island. How specifically can smart motor controls like this help reduce downtime? I mean, I know you said, they can help, identify problems, maybe even, put a couple seconds of reverse to get a line started again. But what are really some of the, benefits that it offers? Like,
yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you another customer example. So we have a customer in California that manufactures pasta, and part of that process is they kind of make the dough, and then they kind of go through a cutting to cut and shape the pasta, and then it goes to these conveyors where it goes to these drying racks, and it kind of goes through this whole process. And so what they do is they have fans that blow air through the system and keep that humidity at a certain level. And then they also, you have conveyors, obviously, that's moving the pasta along. And one of the problems that they were having that they hired a system integrator to help fix is it's all been a closed system. So the operators can't really see what's going on inside. They don't really know if a fan is on or not. They know it's supposed to be on, but they can't really see that it's on. And they don't really see the effect of that until the pasta gets to the end of the line, when it's supposed to be at a certain humidity or certain liquid level, and it's not, right? And so then now they've got scrap, right? So they've got to get rid of the material. Another problem they're having is that in some places the conveyor, because it's hidden, they can't see exactly what's going on until it's really too late. But sometimes the pasta would get jammed up because it maybe wasn't drying enough, or there was an issue with the conveyor, and so it just starts piling up, right? Piling up. And so they don't really know it's a problem until they get to the end, and there's like, hey, where's the pasta? It's not coming out. And so originally, the system integrator was going to install like these CTs on 80 different circuits. So it was 240, 3 per circuit, on this equipment. And we're going to wire that back to a PLC, monitor the current, and be able to analyze, hey, is something weird? Is the fan supposed to be on, but I don't see current? Is the conveyor supposed to have weight on it, but I don't see any weight on it? That type of thing. And we said, well, you could do that. That's a very complex way to do it, but you could use a smart motor starter like TSIS Island, and that will enable you. It has all that stuff's baked in. So everything's all there, all connected. You connect it to your PLC. You're going to be able to get the data for those 80 different motors. And so it really helped achieve that visibility. So now, if the fan is on, or it's turned on, but it's not operating, it needs maintenance, whatever the issue is, they can immediately see that. And they can immediately alert maintenance, hey, we need to repair fan number 14, whatever it is. Or if the conveyors are getting bogged down, they'll be able to monitor, the differences in, the behaviors there on the current. So they can see those types of things before things get too late, right? And things really get backed up. So yeah, it's just this whole idea of being able to monitor things efficiently, plan our maintenance out when we see that maintenance is required or attention is needed, and not waiting till it gets to a point where it's too late, and now we're in a shutdown. We weren't planning a shutdown. We got to call more maintenance people in. We got to get this thing up and running. We got to clean out the systems. It was a very big deal to clean out this process systems, right? They're not easy to get to, and so this whole thing was a big use of time and resources. But now we can be a little more smart about it, and we can see what's happening before things get out of hand.
So that not only makes it easier for the employees to work with the equipment and the machinery, but I imagine that it has to extend the equipment lifetime also.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. A lot of times, well, it's true. Almost any piece of equipment needs maintenance. So
Right.
things wear out, things get dirty, things get clogged, whatever the scenario is. And with a standard motor starter, you really can't see, hey, I'm using 20% more energy than I normally do, right? Or it's running 20% longer than it normally needs to. And so, having that visibility really gives you that kind of heads up. Hey, this thing's not optimally performing. Let's schedule maintenance on our next downtime when it's convenient for us and doesn't impact our output.
So is that visibility the primary way that smart motor controls help improve energy efficiency, or are there any other ways that it contributes to that goal?
Yeah, so it is really that visibility piece, and it's not just data though. We've had motor starters for a long time that's been able to give us information, right? But I use the example of your phone, right? You don't open up an app on your phone that has 1 million points of weather data on it and sift through it and figure out what's relevant, right? You don't do that. You look at the weather app and say, oh, it's telling me it's going to be sunny today, or maybe it pops up and says, hey, a thunderstorm's coming. That's very actionable, right? And so one of the things that we've done differently with this offer with the TC Silent Smart Motor Starter is we don't just give you data, we actually let you set alarms. So if there's kind of a normal operating condition, nothing happens, right? But if you get too high or you get too low outside of a band, you can, those alarms are help provide those guide rails, if you will. And so you'll now get a notification, hey, I see a drop in current, your pump may be cavitating, right? Those are the types of practical uses. And so that's really where you got to take it. It's not just 1 million points of data, right? It's getting notification of the right data, the right information, the right time, the right person, and that's when it really becomes beneficial and actionable. And it's really a wide open field. It's very exciting to be in this area right now where you can help customers figure out how do they take their machines to the next level and really offer a lot of value to their customers.
Please tell us a little more about the smart motor control solutions that Schneider Electric offers and what makes them stand out from competing solutions.
Yeah, so Schneider really has kind of 3 tiers. So there's kind of a what we call connected devices, where it's like a smart motor starter that lets you see what's going on at the device level. And then there's kind of your what we call edge control, which is the processing part, which is collecting that information and then allowing you a gateway to be able to get that information up to the cloud, let's say, or get that out to another place. And then there's also apps and analytics, which is kind of more on the digital side. And so that helps you really kind of monitor, what's going on with there, with the different data and trend it if you want to, or look for specific things. So there's 3 different basic levels to get there. But you think about it, like if you're gonna build a system and you're gonna use a smart motor starter, there's a couple pieces that you got to have. There's obviously a PLC piece that's going to be using the logic, interpreting the data that's coming in from the smart starter. Like our Modicon series would be a good example of being able to do that, and then sending out commands back to our smart motor starter to tell when to turn on, turn off, that type of thing. You're going to need power supplies. So Schneider has a wide variety of power supplies that you're going to need to power up the TC Silent system, which runs on 24-volt DC. And then the other part is your operator interface, right? So you have an operator. They need to know what's going on. They need to be able to alert maintenance, know what's going on. So the HMI touch screens that we offer are a good solution, or even just a simple pilot light, like our 22mm pilot lights are a great addition to be able to alert the operator of a particular issue that may be being sensed at the time.
Is there anything else you'd like our listeners to know about Schneider Electric or its smart motor control solutions?
Yes, we have a lot of great information on our website. If you're curious, we encourage you to check that out. And we know this is not, like an easy roadmap where you just buy a product and put it in your panel and it magically works. You do need to understand kind of what's going on with the system. And the great news is that Schneider has a lot of great resources, whether it be on the product, application side of things, where we're looking at what is the machine doing, what's the motor running, what are the types of issues, and how do we maybe use the data to interpret or pick up on those things. But we also have experts that help you with communications or, with the software side of things. So we have lots of great resources. We encourage you to leverage those resources. and not try to go on your own. So we have a lot of good information for you on our website and in our employees' heads.
Very cool. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today, Eric. And thank you to our listeners for joining us for this episode of the RS Expert Advice Podcast. For more information about Schneider Electric, please visit www.se.com. For our complete collection of expert advice content, including more episodes of the RS Expert Advice Podcast, please visit us.rs-online.com/expert.